Now, what's the situation in South Africa regarding diet and nutritional status? We, as we all know here, have a double burden of disease, the under and as well as the overnutrition, plus a very high prevalence of non-communicable diseases. But I want to zoom in on one aspect here today, namely the policies, and within the policies, specifically the one policy, the South African Food-Based Dietary Guidelines, which aim to help us, the nutrition professionals, to promote the healthy nutrition message. Why? Because these dairy products have the potential to address nutrient gaps, that's the undernutrition part, as well as the risk for non-communicable diseases. It is well known that nutrition professionals are agents for change, yet we don't know what our own disposition in this regard is. So what did we do? We designed a study to describe in relation to dairy in general, which I've listed here in purple, and in respect of selected dairy products, the usual intake, the attitudes, subjective norms, perceived behavioral control of South African nutrition professionals. It was an online cross-sectional survey, and the population were the members of ATSA and the Nutrition Society in 2015. The question that we used as basis is, how often is your daily dairy intake 2 to 3 servings or more? A third of respondents, they would meet this target. If, however, we add this 21%, the 5%, the 6%, and the 8%, it comes to roughly 40%. And that means that 40% of us have dairy meet this target once per week or less. Here, the first one that I want to zoom in on is milk. And we asked about the consumption as such. In other words, is milk as such consumed? And there we see that less than half consume milk as such. Those that do consume it, the average, most participants reported a medium portion size, which we had defined as 250 milliliters. Consumption with other foods, on the other hand, was reported very, very often. And the companion foods are listed over there. Now, regarding mass, the second food listed in the food-based dietary guidelines. And here we see a completely different picture. The percentage reporting not consuming mass as such was close to 90%, and overall, very, very little mass is consumed by the nutrition professionals who responded in 2015. Yogurt, the third food in the food-based dietary guideline, here in pink, we see very, very high numbers, percentage of participants consuming yogurt. However, the portion of yogurt that is consumed per eating occasion was reported to be small. The question that we asked here was, for me, milk, so this is the radar plot for milk, is associated with, and then we had 12 different outcomes, and respondents were requested to say whether it is very unlikely or very likely to be associated with that particular outcome. Now, if we look here at this radar plot, we can see that milk is associated with nutritional quality and bone health, where we had the highest scores. On the other side of the coin, we see that related to environmental matters, diabetes, and cancers, the scores were very low. If we superimpose on this the picture regarding mass, we see, and this mass now in gray, overall a similar shape of this radar plot. However, throughout the plot, the mass scoring was lower, and this was particularly the case for taste. So the taste of mass was something that stood out amongst the nutritional professionals at the time. If we add to this now the yogurt, again, broadly the same profile emerged, but a considerable difference here with taste. So yogurt was associated with good taste. Now, if we look here, and then the two things that really stand out is that professional training and scientific evidence are by far the most important drivers of the behavior that we are talking about. And this shouldn't come as a surprise, given that we're talking to professionals. And the implication thereof is that in order to reach professionals, these are the channels to address. And an occasion like today, where scientific evidence is shared, is then expected to be the place where it's most likely to affect behavior of nutrition professionals. Let's start to wrap up. Firstly, we believe that it is important to tap on nutrition professionals' leadership roles as nutrition educators, advocates, and agents for behavior change for nutritional health of South Africans, realizing that this is one of many approaches to changing a particular behavior. It's our position that the emphasis should always be on the whole diet. In other words, all food-based dietary guidelines, not only the have milk, mouse, or yogurt, but all of them, in addition to balance, variety, and moderation. Many nutrition professionals do not habitually meet dairy intake guidelines. Secondly, intakes of dairy food products differ, as we have seen from the 4 food items that we used. And the one thing that came out is, if it tastes good, I'll have it. Here it seems what is really needed is tools that nutrition professionals can use to increase their clients' ability to include dairy in their diets. This refers to cost, perishability, and access. In other words, helping resource-limited clients to understand the importance of dairy despite these barriers.